thank you very much, everyone, for allowing and inviting Rinpoche to come visit their center. We appreciate it very much. And so this is our official East End Dharma Group introduction. And so this is Venerable Lama Norlha Rinpoche. And he was born in eastern Tibet. He entered the monastery at the age of 5 and completed 6 years of formal meditation retreat by the age of 21. After fleeing Tibet, Rinpoche went to India and established the first Tibetan 3-year retreat in that country. Rinpoche met the very venerable Kala Rinpoche of the Shangpa Kagyu lineage and spent 27 years as his disciple. Rinpoche arrived in America in 1976 and established Kagyu Tibetan Choling Monastery in upstate New York in Wappingers Falls and established the first 3-year retreat in North America. Rinpoche has also 20 affiliated centers along the eastern coast of the United States, and he returns to Tibet regularly, where he has rebuilt monasteries and established schools and medical clinics.
The then 추천드나 이 참모 좀 소식 공부다 참모 좀 주게 테니게 깨지게야 돼 마시라 가오선 도지체스.
I'm very happy to be here with all of you in the Zen Center and in the presence of the devotees and have the chance to talk a little bit about the Buddha's teachings together.
제당소 추세지대 가르치 모리스 센지담제기 gö라 추게 요나 라이스 개와던 대와 추록스에는 센지담지 펜베세도 가르치 모시라리스.
Having some kind of spiritual practice, meditation practice, is extremely important, and when sentient beings have some kind of Dharma practice, then this provides them a means to bring peace and happiness to their minds.
Tenen hakparsan ranso tarin di kapsutunu tu kam dana sembitan gi gyola tenyo momba sheda ngaja chado tene shukchemo yo ris teletini di sembidela tsuepada chupa laso ko mambo sheda tenyo ris.
It seems especially important in these times that we're living in, when the mental afflictions of anger, pride, jealousy, and so forth are particularly strong in the minds of sentient beings, and there's a lot of agitation and fighting.
Kainsin se ngaranso yo sona topti serge koran nudu togu shukte shukje mo shakayoris teletin koran yiz koran semdela yangi kala kamu chankoyoris
Sila
se yo no ta koran ngaranso pomsola sopa je jara sama ya jeshu sunu yoris namla
Supumama.
Supumama. Sono tempo to da koran ya jeshu mo yoris teletin yangi solo koran jopa shukje mo yoris.
So sometimes this happens when there is a lot of, so for example, in an outer way there may be a lot of wealth or resources, technology has developed very strongly, and so sometimes in these kinds of conditions of plenty, then people's minds become difficult.
ngā tā dānsa mā shūk chīmbu rī tē tē bati kāla kāwa chāpē.
So the difficulty comes if people don't realize, as the Buddha taught, that everything comes from the mind, that all appearances ultimately arise from the mind. If one has some kind of understanding of that, then it's easy no matter what your outer conditions may be. But if not, if one doesn't understand that all phenomena and appearances ultimately arise from the mind, then one's ego clinging will intensify and one's confusion will also strengthen.
Kāyī tā saraka nāwa tā shūk chāyatī, nāngā dānzīn tā shūk chāyat rōgu yōrīs. Dāl dzambā tā shūk chāyat sōngi kāla kāwa chāngu yōrīs.
So then when outer appearances are very strong and inner ego clinging is very strong, then this creates a strong duality, which is the cause of many problems.
Tēnī sō chāyī sāmdhīla ngā kōrāṋ sāngā kī mātā mīwā chākī yōrīs.
And what happens generally is that the focus of most of our attention then becomes this self, the ego that we're clinging to.
Kāyī tā sēng kōrāṋ nīpā shūk chīṃ bōrīs. Tīki tōp tēki, tēnī kōrāṋ dānzīn tā shūk chīṃ rōgu tī dōngā tī nyō mō lāso dōngā nāso pati Dharma Norlha Rinpoche.
So when ego clinging becomes very powerful, when one's focus is oneself, when that becomes the focus of one's attention, then suffering and mental afflictions just increase.
Kāyī sāndā, tē pā xeba tāpta yīna jīpār dzambātē, rāng ngā dzī shok chīmbōtē, yāni yīn jīpār dzambātē rātī jānggō yōrīs.
So the way to pacify the confusion created by ego clinging is to exchange concern for self with exchange for others. So instead of cherishing oneself, one puts more energy and attention into cherishing others.
Kāyī sāndā, tē yō yōt kārī dzāngā sāmbātē nīngi nīki jānggō yōrīs.
So then what we need to train in is the development of love and compassion.
Tē sāmbātē nīngi nīte mīna dzambala nī shibdī tsāni yōrīs. Dzambala nī shibdī tā sāmbātē nīngi nīte yōrīs.
Without love and compassion, then it's not possible to have peace and happiness in this world. Whatever peace and happiness we're able to experience in this world are somehow due to love and compassion.
Kāyī sāndā sāmbātē nīngi sāndā sēpī tāmbir rāngi gāwa, nyēwa, kārī sōla nyēwa yordi majirana, tē tāwa chē, tē ngā rāng chō, sē rāng kōrā, tōma mē pāni, tā pātā ngā rāng chō, kāmsōng kōwa dāng kōwa dē, tē gāwa, nyēwa, tōku, māngbō yōnggō yōrīs. Sē rāng kōrā, tōma mē pāni, tē ngā rāng chō māngbō kāmsōng kōwa dāng kōwa rīs. Tē rāng tē ngō nē tē chē sō, pāma tē nyēdra gāwa nyāwa jā jā, sē mē sē tē lā, tē ngā rāng chō, that Holland song.
So we all have some understanding in a personal way about love and compassion, because there's always someone in one's life who one loves or likes, feels close to. And from beginningless time in samsara until now, so we as sentient beings have been wandering in samsara or confused existence, and within our experience in samsara, we have many that we consider friends and loved ones. And all sentient beings in general are the same in wishing to experience happiness and to avoid suffering.
David Jyote, Sososote, Sambat, Ninge, Gawan, the Malatsevati Mosati, Savatia to the Yon. They tam check around the chip of Kalakaboy, some Maripur drips and the Kalakaboy.
So the cause of true happiness is, from one's own side, the development of love and compassion and of virtuous helpful mind. This becomes the ultimate cause of one's own happiness in the future. But due to the obscuration of ignorance, we don't recognize that, and so we seek happiness from the outside in a variety of ways.
이 동학의 저대 아파랑 가리스나 말한서 뜻이랑 아자 차도도 템베랑 동하용한테 말아 동하용 싸워도 거예요.
And the cause of suffering is from our own side, the development of anger and pride and jealousy. This, or whatever mental afflictions, these cause our suffering in the future.
텔레티네 링안 솔라티 코란 아서 나는 삼바히게티 슈충노 베르죠. yin tsawa de shokchun geche samban hinge shokchun do yo res marang da nga dan zamba shokchera ba tin ni kora donga shokchera la yo.
So then, however strong are our mental afflictions of anger and jealousy and pride and so forth, then that, however strong those are, then our love and compassion will be weaker. This will prevent us, and we have strong anger and jealousy. This prevents us from giving rise to love and compassion. And however strong is our ego clinging, then we will have that much suffering.
Rang danzi jiba zongwa de chung tong de yin jiba zeba de cher tong de samba ni ge de shuk cher tong.
However, if our attention and concern is more focused on others, if we have more cherishing of others and try to reduce cherishing of the self, then love and compassion will naturally increase, as will our own peace and happiness.
Rang dan zamba de shuk chung tang gol si yin jiban zamba de shuk cher tong de de kar chen bo song de song de.
So in general, it is an essential teaching of the Buddha that we should strive to reduce our ego clinging and increase our cherishing of others.
De yin so so ga samba ni ge de shuk cher song tan de rang yin ji tin ge kang de marang so chama de yor che jung kan chama sanang chama de hewa dewa rong ji le bu.
So if to whatever extent we can develop love and compassion for others, this will naturally start to be not only bring peace and happiness to ourselves, but also will naturally bring more peace and happiness to the world. So in many ways, on many levels, inner, outer, and secret.
Pero rang sus rang taki chi na pang go yo pang zo rang pang go yo. Di ngem ba sawa dong ha ga sawa de rang pang go yo ang bo
Di ngem ba sawa.
ngem ba sawa de rang pang go ma ge ba sawa de rang pang go.
So one should start with oneself, examining one's own continuum, one's own body, speech, and mind, and strive to give up whatever negative actions or harmful or unvirtuous actions that one engages in. One should strive to give these up.
Pero so sta rang na ye de na shuk che ji dong ha de kan ni go su do cha de he dang to mu sum za wa del ti ni go yo.
And if we really examine the suffering that we experience as individuals and we look for its root, we'll find that it is rooted in either attachment, aversion, or stupidity.
나는 나와 세여 도 랑 셈다 딱 이제 가르치 못 하죠.
So generally our minds go outwards and we are distracted by or absorbed in what's happening on the outside or by outer appearances. But we need to learn to investigate our inner minds.
이 랑은 배 해당 쇼키 붙랑은 랑선 해다도 모시와지 전남 저 갖고 저랑 저 따히게 나 해당때 세여의 해당 정보 랑처는 이 해당의 랑자와 셈상고 아 셈서 상담.
So for example, if we give rise to anger, so generally when we have anger is at something on the outside, and most of our attention is on whatever is outside. But what we need to do as soon as we give rise to anger is just to recognize that this is anger, and then instead of looking at whatever is the outer ostensible cause of the anger, we should look inwardly at the mind that is experiencing the anger.
이 해당도 약고 다시 해당대 아이 해당도 거라 이제 거라는 알아서 단지 왕리 마도 해당서 요마서 랑인 트러스는 철바이면 나와 다 고고요.
So, and if we actually examine the anger itself, then we can see that except that it has no truly existent nature, that except for the fact that it has arisen due to the power of ego clinging, it really doesn't exist as anything on its own. That it is just a product of ego clinging, and it is like a confused appearance.
해당 될 때가 알아서 동하지 뭐죠. 뒤동하던 옷이 그 동하신 다 동하등에 되는 방이 삼바세고요.
And then we should recognize how when we're lost to the power of anger that it causes us suffering. So we should recognize that whatever suffering we experience is based on that anger, and we should then resolve that we will let go of the suffering and the anger.
해당된 남의 게 뭐제가 효. 해당 자원의 공의 상의 효. 해당 남의 계획이 심비탄 비도도 매 해당 남의 계획이 해당의 랑이 되는 뭐제가 효랑이 참하게 되는 해당된 뭐제가 효스티 홍남지 알고요.
And it's also important to make strong aspirations that, so if we recognize anger in ourselves, then think that I will, try to let that go, and then to make aspirations or prayers that may I be free of anger, may all sentient beings be free of the torment of anger.
대답을 있어서 공도 찬다고지는 너제 열라 차바 될었는지 너서다 여기 당원량 그래서 팔아들 해당 쫓저 사람도 차도 숙지 몰라 대진 된데 바쳐본다는 거 양랑 모시와 제거로 그래서
And we should do the same thing when strong desire or attachment arises to an outer object. We have some kind of attachment to an outer object. We should recognize the attachment that arises in our minds. Turn inwardly and look at the attachment that arises in the mind.
대해당 그런 랑이 모두 뜻이 이게 내 거는 너자 거는 랑이 거랑 자와들 때다 나야 맞아 버리지 이게 내 거는 자와는 뭐 맞아 버리다 나랑 나도 좀 받을 때는 너자 될랑 그래서
And in the same way, through examining attachment itself, see that there is nothing there that is inherently or truly existent, that desire and attachment arise solely due to the power of ego clinging.
때때 랑처럼 랑서 내가 나지든 오어도 이게 맞아 버리지 마송 버리지 이게 맞아 버리지 이게 자와 맞아 버리지
So,
triple bank is triple
So in this way we recognize that the essence of attachment, desire attachment, is not truly existent and is also a confused appearance.
대대 디셈 코랑가 랑을 따는 게 나면 이세비 탐지기 절대 자꾸 똑바 모형을 껴서 모는 자고요.
And having recognized this, then again we make aspirations that may I never be confused by desire attachment, may desire and attachment never confuse any sentient being.
대대 따오도 또 먹는 르라이 제 곰만도 와라 소보다 셈 곰도 살고면 라서 버 셈 깔아가고 나이지 장고요. 디가서 가는 원 다또 먹을 좀 선어는 무슨 거요.
And in the same way we should recognize when a state of stupidity arises in the mind. So one way to recognize this, for example, if you meditate regularly and then it's those times when you don't want to meditate, that's usually a state of stupidity, or it's in meditation the dullness that arises in meditation, to recognize that as being a state of stupidity.
대모 시찬 다가 대다우 랑 사람 코마 토마메 빠나 다 빠다 나도 나도 좀 봐라든지 좀 말을 거기가 드바리 삼상와 모시고
To recognize this as stupidity and to understand that since beginningless time in samsara until now I have wandered due to being lost to the power of ignorance and stupidity. And make the aspiration that may I be able to let go, may be able to recognize and let go of stupidity, and may all sentient beings be free of stupidity. And another meditation technique that is useful to complement these techniques of recognizing the mental afflictions and recognizing they don't truly exist and then aspiring that they not arise in the future, then is to join the breath with the contemplation or visualization that whatever goodness that you possess, whatever kind of virtue or good qualities or good conditions that you have, that you, when you breathe out, that you send all of that as light to all sentient beings and think that that goodness dissolves into all sentient beings. And then you should also think that when you breathe in, that you are breathing in all of the suffering and sickness and troubles of sentient beings, and that through breathing it in you are freeing sentient beings of whatever torments them. And especially if you have any kind of sickness or pain, you should think that may that sickness or pain then remove all of the suffering and troubles of sentient beings. And it seems especially important in these difficult times that we live in to do this kind of generous meditation, which is known as taking and sending. So it's important for us to examine our own situations clearly and think about our whole lives from the time we've been born until now, and how instant by instant that life was and is constantly impermanent, that everything is impermanent. Rangi Jula. The reason this is such an important meditation is that it seems that in these times that people's respect and devotion for spiritual life, faith and so forth are decreasing, and their anger and pride and jealousy are increasing in general. It seems this way. And so this meditation of taking and sending reverses that. It increases one's respect and devotion and faith and compassion, and decreases anger and pride and jealousy.
소지게 이게 대화시 분인고 시심지 탐지게 줘라 거라 심지지 요네 살잠 나기 참만에 요때 이게 대화시 분인고 심지 탐지게 줘라 요소는 그래서
So we all have great power in our minds waiting as potential, because we all possess the Buddha nature. All sentient beings equally possess the potential for enlightenment, in that all sentient beings have a consciousness which possesses lucid awareness. And that lucid awareness is a sign of the Buddha nature they possess that awaits there as a potential.
가인스 산제 당고 심진리는 상계는 건 초사 드바지는 상계거든. 나랑서 때다듯이 거는 이 대화를 기분이 보여 봐라티네 이 거는 소소가 좀 잠바세나 뭐버도 상계 유소는 거든.
The Buddha was originally an ordinary sentient being, and it was just through his efforts in accumulating merit and purifying obscurations that he was able to attain enlightenment. So it is just a matter of revealing what is actually inherent and waiting inside. And we have that Buddha nature as well. And so if we as individuals are diligent and make an effort to reveal that nature, then we can also attain complete enlightenment.
이게 대화를 기분이 뭐 최종성은 장에서 제야마 찍다리스. 나한테 이게 말을 밖에 잡아 뇽바산데 다도 의시하는 공시하는 접선바다 되는 거는 대 접대요. 대사부터는 산지리 생각이.
So there's no distinctions or differences in the quantity of Buddha nature that certain individuals have over others. So it's not that some people have more of it or less of it, or some people have better quality Buddha nature or more inferior quality. So everyone possesses the same Buddha nature. It is just that it is temporarily obscured by ignorance. And it's just a matter of removing that obscuration of ignorance. And once that obscuration is cleared away, completely cleared away, then one attains enlightenment.
Then number 10 Mangushi, the God shoes, each number Trawalang, Trawai song, near the Linja Lunganso, Sarbo Younger, Nachi, who had that, Kansa, Sancho, Sanjo, the
So I have just said a few things here, a little bit of a few different ideas, and told you a little bit about what we call Bodhicitta, which is the mind that aspires for enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. And I think that rather than just going on and talking more, I would like to hear any particular questions you have, and I think through question and answer, then that clarifies things sometimes better than just giving a talk. So please feel free to ask anything that you'd like.
One of the problems I constantly have is that no matter practice, eventually I'll lose my temper, or I'll fall off the wagon of the Buddha Dharma for a few days or something. Actually not too much longer than that. My question is basically, is there a way that is to help catch oneself in situations where one gets overcome by one's emotions or stupidity in my case, I would say. Is my question.
Chugi ne deni jigi deni chichena chig nima ni somna deni chugi deni dos deni chigi deni yangcha deni ngoshi deni yangcha de sunju chi deni chugi deni kanjes de kasu de nyumong shari kasu kanjes ngoshi
That day, Karichi, Shunun Tanjun Dumba Zela Rabu Neson.
Dunga.
Dumba the Karchimbo.
Mhm.
Tambu, the social Nanga Lang Casmo, Dad, Naran Hedang Languna, Hedang, the Chado Kari, Nyomon Karji Langun, Tikas in Moshawasi, Tikas in the Gom, some of the body, Shukim Cargo.
So, the Buddha taught that it's important to always keep your motivation in the front of your mind. And so you need to be constantly reminding yourself and reinforcing that. So, for example, when you wake up in the morning, just to make it a habit to think, okay, today, may I be mindful. May I recognize when anger arises in the mind. May I recognize, attachment or stupidity. Sort of make a resolution. And the more you make that resolution, the more likely you're going to remember in the moment. Remember what your resolution had been.
The young Bonga and Man Yakat, Tingan, Tanyamon carriage you the Chida, so that you make kind of Palang, carriages or Lambda Chendo, near carriage of Gomdo, Taki Jago.
And then you need to, then in the evening, right before you go to sleep, you need to reflect on the day. So sort of make this something that you do every morning and every evening. And think, well, how did I do today with my resolution this morning? How did I do? Did I get angry? Did I have attachment? Or just to review it and think about, was I mindful or not?
Then it take a capsule, then it go more to the Garang Terangation, Nyomomba, Shukim, one less sad, so that this of the Java said that you have a people.
What's that?
I think I am a machine. The Tang of the young love you the young, my Japa Chigi, Pacha Lang and one Tang.
And if you find that you did not keep your resolution, then you should just think that you confess it in front of all the Buddhas of the 10 directions and say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to try again. And I'm going to try, and I really am going to try my best not to be lost to anger and so forth. And I'm going to make it a priority to do mind training. And mind training is just this kind of thing that we're talking about. And make aspiration prayers. May I not just be lost to the power of the habitual tendencies.
Kinds the Ngan Lon, the Gats of Padaran, Savatomi, and this Tangaran Sheval let how near the take up some Tapa Gomnai, Tangetari, Temagom Tamado. I don't have the Tawajis over some Patabia culture.
And also you should think, from up until from my they load that Tandane Chene.
Tangaran Lo, Mangaran Lo Chimbolis, ya Lord, the church in the Royals.
And you should
think,
and you should think, okay, now I'm getting older, and every day I grow closer to death, and everything is impermanent. I can't lose this precious opportunity I have now to work with my mind, and so I must always remember impermanence and meditate so that I can become free of suffering.
Yes, we time like on pain toward you. I don't get a somebody get a show Kimbo in tea, said me time the pain toward you
and to make aspiration prayers that through your Dharma practice that you will be able to not only free yourself from suffering but benefit all sentient beings, and may you give rise to love and compassion for all sentient beings.
You mentioned taking and giving meditation, taking in other people's afflictions, giving back the light. You also referred to it as gratitude meditation. And I wonder if you could elaborate on gratitude and what that means from a Buddhist perspective and how one achieves that or creates it.
Okay. The Thailand I'm not sure, did he say gratitude or was it generous? I don't remember saying.
Is it generosity?
But I can still ask your question because I think it's interesting anyway.
Okay.
Okay. Then kadin nijendaki kadin de ngoshi. Dik kachambore des the sanjegi the nampe lukna the be shendaki kadrin din the Korean the culture Buddha.
Tensang kadin tin sing yo ba.
That's all.
Dere tin nga shuk chim cha. Ye simpi tan de kadin de ya gu chen ta wa yin tin da pe kal chim. Simpi de kadin de pari yo de kadin de ka che ti sa ne ngarang de dan de shung de. Te ko chi ta ne. Te tensang ka ji ya de kadin tin de pe kal ko cha ta. Te kadin tin ba ya ko de ma de cha ne tini chula kala kapo chagan jitin ga char ngosa sin kala kapo chagan jitin kan chama te por nyomon shuk chawa tin shuk chir pino kadi de kar chempo.
So actually gratitude is essential, and especially it seems to be lacking today in general. It seems like it's diminishing more and more, and is a root of a lot of difficulties because when one doesn't have appreciation of others' kindness, or one doesn't have gratitude for others, then that will increase that's a sign of increased ego claim. So when we have appreciation for others and gratitude for others, that automatically reduces our ego claim, appreciation for others. And it seems to be a problem now that there isn't this kind of gratitude and appreciation, and so when there's no gratitude and appreciation, then there's no integrity, there's no loyalty, and people become very careless and almost shameless with their behavior, and all the mental afflictions increase if one is lacking in gratitude. So recognizing others as being kind, and especially those who have been obviously kind to one, appreciating that and having gratitude is extremely important these days.
Kadin madina yor lungba na kala ka chang ko tungba na kala ka chang ko pama puji je para kala ka chang so za zero nya pa ta sama ta kadin madin para tin zambal tin to pa chen bo do ji kala ka chang.
In fact, when we don't have gratitude, then so like a country lacking gratitude is bad for the country. If children don't have gratitude for their parents, that makes a very uncomfortable situation between them. When spouses, in relationships, if there's no gratitude, then that is very damaging to the relationship. So many of our difficulties, agitations, and suffering in this world is due to lack of gratitude.
Kadin tempo gono so wa kadin de tin ni ya ko so wa ja sonje la chu kadin de tin go ni sanje ge chu kadin de ma din din sanje de tin se je ma sonje ge chu kadin de la tin ne te ran yi se je tan je la hewa de dewa ning ge de ko je go de kadin de sama tin de kar chen.
And in one's Dharma practice, it's also important to recognize and appreciate the kindness of the Buddha, so the Buddha and the Buddha's Dharma, so realizing the great kindness of the Buddha's Dharma and bringing methods that bring peace and happiness in the minds of beings. So appreciating that is, like without that it would just be impossible to proceed in one's meditation or Dharma practice. It's through remembering the kindness of the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, that then our own practice is enhanced.
Rinpoche, when anger arises, it's kind of like a fire being ignited. Do you have any suggestion about putting out the fire before it catches?
Pe hedang de korang ye me pa la korang yor pa te tsekpa san ko no san ngarang hedang lang ko yo ros ngarang pa di yor te ne hedang lang ko te ngarang cholo yo le te 이게 맞아 버려서 내 봐요. 이게 해단도 저디요나 해단에 나는 깔아 버리지. 이게 매바지라 그 주진 때문에 뛰는 나랑 해단 나한테라 다 이제 봐이나 이게 또 그래서
이 차치 제고도.
될 다시 곰는 거.
So this is something that takes time and practice and contemplation, and really examine the situation until you become confident that the object of the anger is not truly existent and the anger itself is not truly existent. If anger was somehow truly existent, then it really would be a problem. There would be nothing you could do to put it out or stop it if it was truly existent. But it is not truly existent. It's something, just like anything, it is something that has temporarily been created due to the interdependence of certain causes and conditions coming together. Then it produces this, this phenomena, this temporary phenomena, which is just the interdependent causes and conditions coming together, but there's no inherent existence. It's not something that is truly or independently existent. And so it helps that through meditation and through considering this over time again and again, and through recognizing that there is nothing truly existent there, then that starts to lessen our belief in it, lessen our...
해단은 핀바만 더 왔어.
So?
해단은 나가 내봐, 말을 내봐, 상을 내봐 되마도요. 근데 해단 랑치 해단 랑차 데려줘봐지 검토봐이나 이 해단은 해타봐이나 핀바지 뭐라고. 대마를 해마를 대야랑 가서 나라나 깔래가고 말을 깔래가고 마음 벌리러 나사 효ction. 깔래가고 이거요. 또 딱히 찍고. 딱히 맞게나 방도 깔래가고.
So again,
딱히 건
we have to think about this ahead of time and be considering it so we're prepared when it actually arises. And so we need to think about how anger is completely useless. It's not beneficial at all. It doesn't help us, doesn't make us feel good, it doesn't help the other person or whatever that we're angry at. It's just harmful. And if we think about before, if next time I get angry, if I'm able to give rise to a little bit of patience, this will be so beneficial. Just to have that in one's mind will make it a little easier when it actually arises. But through just being totally lost to anger, this is harmful to one's mind. It can even cause sickness. It can cause sickness in the body. And so it's just important at other times to be thinking about how the mental afflictions are not truly existent, and they're also not helpful. They're harmful.
some things better when pali yertical Hedamasa Televen, Colonigi Kigos, Yekeda Marek Partin Lanko Shatsal, Round some Tangan, Nuni Hedan and Pimba member Hedan on the camping, Shatsal, Niji Combine, they got people.
The other thing that will help is if you're angry at a person or some kind of living being, if you can give rise to compassion for that being, even if that being is being aggressive or angry at you, to recognize that this is a confused sentient being who's also under the power of ignorance, and have compassion for them from that point of view. And if you get used to having compassion for sentient beings, that also starts to naturally reduce the anger.
Gom는 라와르 문제로 우대가야 유마인 곰 공거레스 곰터는 내라오레스 곰 마컴 산마당나 일레칼레카고요.
So there's a saying that there's nothing that doesn't get easier with familiarization. So this is a type of thing that you just have to do it over and over and over again and get more and more used to it. You get more used to having compassion, you get more used to having patience and recognizing that anger is not truly existent, and then it gets easier the more you get used to it. So it's just a matter of that. If we don't really try, then it's just going to be always hard. If we never really work at it, then it's going to be difficult. But if we keep trying, then it will get easier.
Pero your company nobody pay is on Palisama Tangdiana, they gotta have yours. Tell it surround the Rangati, Junchi the Rang Taki Churchico. Tene pali yotela shata hingi ji, rangno tsuru hingi ji na, ini shadang desile lao.
So when we get angry, if we're just totally focused on the object of our anger and why it's making us angry, it's going to be very difficult to do anything with that. So we want to first look inside at ourselves, examine our own minds, and then when we look back at the object or the person, then we want to have compassion for them. So that's where we want to sort of turn it around.
Ngarang la kora rawang lang phagate rawang me bata hingi lang. Chatra ngarang ne samude ko yo chuna ko yo. Ti tepo ji tango. Palti ha ko yo ma.
Another thing to also, when we look in at ourselves, to have compassion for ourselves, saying that, okay, I don't have total freedom of mind, and so I've given rise to anger. But we also should think that I'm lucky because I understand something about the Dharma, something about the Buddhist teachings. Probably that person who we're angry at doesn't. It's likely they don't. And so then to have more compassion, so that person doesn't have any kind of method that they can use with their mental afflictions, but I know a little bit about how to work with the mind, so I'm very lucky, and I should make use of that ability.
Tedo sosu rang metsendel te stagi tiet da gom just do zeng sendre yo de pe kaden chembo tinten da roshi namba yogo. Tenga roshi lama da roshi kon namba yogo chin nyam nyom. Te nyam nyom tam de sosu nyam sen de tai rang gyo da so tai ken. So chi rang nga da zamba ti kitni karanti sarade de nawa da tham te la tabdi yo. Tene songo yo. Deha konde rangi hewa dewa mingi je tabis.
So all of you are very lucky that you have the Zen Center here and you have the Roshis available to help teach with meditations, because that's the real remedy for all the mental afflictions is meditation. And it's through examining our own continuum that that our minds become more workable, and we're able to see that our ego clinging is the root of all of our suffering, and that based on ego clinging, then outer objects seem more real. They seem more truly existent, and therefore they seem like they have potential to harm us, help us or harm us, or whichever one it is. But it is through meditation that we can start to become free of the ego clinging that causes suffering. So Rinpoche encourages all of you to take advantage of your opportunity here.
I'm wondering about this word bodhicitta, and I'm thinking, I think I remember that citta is the part of mind that is the storehouse of memory. So why use this bodhicitta?
Citta, okay. The bodhicitta, the sanju isem sana. Then menagi samba di citta di jakari kerwa. Citta sana de pokela sem. Menagi samba la de citta sana de manso the den the dengidus the kanjo no then also dengido, remember dengidus. This song the chicken the kakarewa the pokela the sanjuki sem sang the chetangi sem wa.
Sem chitang sem sar sarvat require sem.
So in bodhicitta actually is the Sanskrit word, and in Tibetan the word that is used for citta is just the word for mind. It's just mind, and it specifically means that mind which has lucid awareness. So it maybe has some other connotation sometimes in the Sanskrit that maybe doesn't in the Tibetan. So I use that word because that's sort of become the accepted translation. A lot of people know that word, but that is a Sanskrit word, and so that isn't the word that he's using when he's speaking. He's using the Tibetan word. bodhicitta maybe it's just a
사르던 셈데 셈코나랑고 마시버까 사르던 셈. 딩고 데도 사마 딘 데레 샤고요. 데는
So this, but the word in the Tibetan, which is sem in the Tibetan, is this lucid awareness, the mind, we call it mind, and when we don't recognize the essence of that mind, then it manifests as a dualistic consciousness, which is the seat of all of our experience of happiness and suffering and everything in between.
될 때는 는 콜와 양인데 바 사마 딘 송고요.
Sem lateni.
셈코랑 딘.
And it is based on that mind, the sem, that all of the phenomena of samsara and nirvana are possible to arise.
가인스는 셈코랑가 랑우시나 셈코랑가 랑우시거래. 셈코랑가 다 사르던 랑 셈리랑 뜻을 라마라시도 소서 랑우시 차로에나 곰잠 랑우시 차로에나 데이터 산제 그저레스 랑우시.
So it is this mind that we work with in meditation. It is this mind of lucid awareness that then if we rely on a teacher or a lama, the lama points out to us how to recognize the nature of that mind through meditation. And that becomes the path of the Buddha Dharma, that one works with this mind of lucid awareness.
가인스는 이제 그런 똥발이스. 똥발들의 주적고 신기들 거기 상모산지 이게 주적걸 쫓아오거든.
그래서 주적을 가리를
셈코랑 오늘 저 따이게 그랑을 저 따이게 해서 이게 그런 똥발이스. 똥발 같은. 똥발들라 이제 그런 주적고
So this mind of lucid awareness, in its essence, if we examine the essence of this mind, then we find that it is, in essence, emptiness. And this aspect of emptiness is referred to, this is another Sanskrit term, it is referred to as the Dharmakaya.
똥바 똥장 말이지. 싸봐요. 내서 가는 시터바 하고터바 내서 시터바 되어요.
But the mind is not mere emptiness, it's not nothingness or voidness, because we have the ability to understand our own experience, so there's this clarity or lucidity to the mind. So it's not only emptiness, it is also clarity.
Then sudden some dela koram 똥바 똥장 싸와요 같은 dela kan pelonguto ko seguido.
And so then that aspect of the mind, that there's this lucidity, there's this awareness, lucid awareness, that is referred to as the Sambhogakaya.
Pero salvatela 똥바디 yene koran kibaris. Sheparyo ma. The yene batela the koran turpo ko seguido.
And the fact that the emptiness of mind and the clarity of mind are not like two separate things put together or something, but they are indivisible, they're inseparable and indivisible, they are of the same basis, then that is referred to, that aspect of the mind is referred to as the Nirmanakaya.
Then the koran tijitela tijitela the sarat samje sebji the maripoka sarat samtela shibukazo koran ye tongba o sarwa rangye manga po mo de chabi de
So when our minds are obscured by ignorance, these aspects of the mind are not recognized, and just ordinary dualistic consciousness is what manifests. But when we recognize the essence of mind, then we recognize it as a ceaseless, unimpeded flow of luminous emptiness.
semplice 가리요 그래서는 이게 똥바된 옷이고 말이지. 똥바된 옷 마시는 가 생이 잘.
So sentient beings don't recognize the essence of mind as being empty, and so they mistake that emptiness as being some kind of self, and think I and me.
되는 살와된 옷이요 말. 살와된 옷 마시는 때는 이 생이 잘.
And not recognizing the mind's natural lucidity, and clarity, sentient beings see outer objects as being other.
어떤 코란티 코란 텔티네 사와든 거면 열tin 당마 창고 있어요. 제단의 창고요.
And it is based on so not recognizing the clarity of mind and seeing them as being outer objects, then we have the potential to have aversion towards these outer objects.
데네티 송은 조바리 대하고요 말 대하 먹어볼 때는 거라 근데 너무 많이 받지 않고요.
And not recognizing that clarity and emptiness are indivisible, then the mind experiences stupidity.
데네티는 걸어왔당 냥은 대빠지 그단 두지고요. 콘데기 찌기 제무 세요.
What this means is that the basis of samsara and nirvana are identical. It is just that in one case the mind is recognized, in the other case it's not. So the difference between samsara and nirvana is just a question of recognition, but the essence is the same.
동원만 콘데기 찌기 지금 걸어왔던 냥인 대빠 이게 찌기에 대해서 네.
Yangcha.
걸어왔다 다다들이 그거랑 아주 다른 좀 봐도 너무 그거랑 냥은 대빠도 사와를 동동들이 대고 심미시 소서 될때 콘데기 콘다 냥이 이게 제무서.
So then samsara is what manifests when we don't recognize the nature of mind and we mistakenly believe there to be an ego. And nirvana is what we experience when we do recognize the essence of mind and recognize the mind's natural luminous awareness. So the nature of mind is never changed. It's just a question of whether it's recognized or not. And so sometimes it's referred to, the nature of mind is referred to as the single great foundation of both samsara and nirvana.
But same thing in there. Mera ngoni like yours. Checking out that never hear down I just had a certain tapa moving here.
Another way the mind is described as being like a mirror with two sides. On one side, then it shines all of the, or reflects all of the mental afflictions of anger and jealousy and pride and so forth. And on the other side are all of the positive qualities such as love, compassion, faith, and devotion, and so forth.
Because that Jachin Boris, the Lamaya Polati, Damaya Push, Sosanyania Bosotan, the Sandy Pomado, Kalaya Maris. They Maranum Kovandra, the answer the court use champion.
So we have this enormous potential, and if we rely on a lama or a teacher, and we receive the authentic instructions, and then we put them into practice through our own meditation, then we will have no problem progressing and eventually attaining enlightenment. But if we don't do anything, and we just let ourselves go according to our habitual tendencies, then we'll just constantly wander in samsara and confusion. Very fortunate to have spent this time with everyone and talked about the Dharma together.
Chedar Moa Mona Draba